Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Handsome Hobie. We're gonna be reacting to this video that I saw, and it's a good video. This woman explains why handsome men get sabotaged, and she's gonna go into full detail, dude. I like when I find other people that have the same mindset as me. I'm trying to teach you guys what it's like to be a handsome guy and freaking all the hard things that we have to go through as handsome men. I got a female speaking out about this. All right, here we go.
Hello, hello, hello. I am back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how handsome men have different experiences with their pretty privilege, right? And you're probably like, what? Handsome men and pretty privilege? But no, there's actual studies that show that handsome men indeed obviously have pretty privilege. And I know some people try to downplay their pretty privilege and they try to act like it's totally different. And I've seen that statement from a lot of people, right? Not just guys that are average, but I've seen that a lot from unattractive men, where they try to pretend like handsome men don't have better experiences than them, but they also don't want to bring up how they bully and harass handsome men as well, and how they socially try to sabotage handsome men as well. I feel like this is something that is not talked about. I have not seen any handsome men come out and talk about their attractive privilege. I have, had conversations with handsome men behind the scenes, or even on some of my panels that I used to host on, my TikTok page. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to be discussing how pretty privilege also affects handsome men and the pros and the cons of that. And I'm also going to be talking about psychology and statistical data as well. All right. So I want to start out by saying this, right? So handsome men, they have it easy, right? According to what most people assume. They get more dates, they get better jobs, they even get free drinks, believe it or not. But what if I told you that pretty privilege for men comes with a very unique type of hate? Today we're diving into how attractive men are praised, envied, and often quietly sabotaged by both men and women with actual data and real psychology behind it. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about is what is pretty privilege for men. So there's data behind this. So a 2023 study from Evolutionary and Human Behavior showed that handsome men earn 12 to 17% more than average or below average looking men, even in non-client facing jobs. And also attractive men were 2.6 times more likely to be selected for leadership roles. This was the University of Wisconsin in 2019. And then even when it comes to dating apps, men rated in the top 20% of attractiveness receive over 70% of all right swipes. And these studies were basically from OkCupid, also from Bumble and Tinder as well. So this is going to be the psychology behind this. So there's some psychological insight on this. The halo effect means we unconsciously attribute positive traits such as intelligence, kindness, success to attractive people, which is a fact. And for men, this translates into trust, admiration, and desirability. But it also comes with competition and suspicion. So pretty privilege in men works totally different, right? And I've been trying to break this down. I've been breaking down all these social dynamics, how they affect men, women, children. I'm going to start making more videos also about how it affects children as well. But I don't have as many videos about men, and I think I'm going to be making way more videos about men, pretty privilege, and stuff like that. So, again, not to get off my point, again, pretty privilege in men, it works totally differently. It's social capital in a world where men are expected to compete. So I want to start out by saying shaming and sabotage happens to handsome men. All right, so a lot of the shaming tactics and the social sabotage comes from other men when it comes to handsome men, right? So other men often view attractive men as a threat, especially in male-dominated spaces, right? So because this
I told you
happens,
guys.
this often leads to dismissive comments like,
Yep.
he's dumb,
Yep.
he's probably broke,
Yep.
or he gets girls but he's soft, right? Because they
Yes.
always push those
Oh my
allegations out
goodness.
on handsome men. They say that he's gay, they say that
Yep.
he's feminine,
Yep.
they say that he has the girly face.
Yep.
Some of them say they don't get high quality attractive women. That's another lie, that's another coping mechanism, because they see that they're smashing bad bitches for free, right? So then the next cope is, oh, well, those aren't actually high value attractive women, he has no access to that. But that's false, because we've seen an entire felon like Jeremy Meeks have access to a woman that's a billionaire. So shut the fuck up, right?
Ooh.
All right, so their favorite thing to say about handsome men.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can. First up, let's...
Is all of those type of things, right? They love the shaming tactics when it comes to handsome men. So another thing that I want to point out is the social sabotage. So male peers might withhold opportunities, exclude them from male bonding, or downplay their achievements, right? So it's the same thing. It's similar to just how attractive privilege is for women, right? Because when you look at how women do, they do the same type of things. They'll exclude the pretty girl from coming somewhere. If you have a woman that's a hiring manager, she might not give you the job, especially if she's unattractive and overweight. So it's the same type of dynamic towards handsome men, right? So what's happening is they feel like, you know, he only got that because of his looks. That's the type of effect and dynamic that's happening more times than not. So there's actually a psych study on this. A 2021 study from the Personality and Individual Differences found that men with high facial symmetry were more likely to be perceived as rivals by other men, especially in high-stake environments. So from women, attractive men may get hypersexualized or devalued, right? So they'll say things like, he's just a pretty face, or he's probably a player, or he knows he's cute, so he's arrogant, right? So these are assumptions that women are making based on seeing handsome men. They don't know the actual man. They didn't actually try to get to know him or say hi. They didn't try to do anything. They just made an assumption based off of how he looks. And that's kind of why I talk about lookism on my page, right? Because that's basically what happens whenever you interact with anybody. They assume all of these things about you based on how you look at first. And then depending on what your personality is like, that's going to either add into the stereotypes that they already have against you, or it's going to take away. And it's going to show that, oh, this person is not what I thought they were. So some women specifically try to nag attractive men. So what ends up happening is that some women will deliberately nag them, right? They'll treat them cold, or they'll try to downplay their looks, like, oh, he's not all of that, he's not that cute, I don't find him attractive, to basically try to put handsome men in their place. And that's kind of like what the chick did that got in my inbox. And I keep referring back to her because there's a lot of content I can make out of somebody. This is how you read a person fulfilled for eternity, right? So again, just like how that chick tried to get in my inbox and was like, oh, well, I don't find Chris Brown attractive, and that's based on Eurocentrism. Nobody gives a fuck about your bunk ass opinion. And that's the point that I'm ultimately trying to make. Like, people try to go out of their way to deliberately downplay the attractiveness of attractive people's looks. And they do this all the time, right? Nagging is like one of their tactics that they use to try to have access to these individuals, or try to make these individuals feel like they're so high value that they're above these attractive people, but in reality, they're not shit. And this actually makes me remember when I was dating the handsome guy that was Black and Asian, and he told me how in the past he had a bunch of fat tricks, right? And he said that some of his fat tricks would try to nag him. And that's a point that he did bring up as well, where it'll be an unattractive fat woman that knows that she's being used for resources and money, but then she'll try to have conversations with him and act like there's so many handsome men out there. And he was like, well, if there's so many handsome men out there, why can't you just talk to those handsome men? Oh yeah, because they don't actually want you. And ultimately, you know that, you know, this is a situation where you're being used for financial reasons. But anyway, that leads me to my next point, right? A real example of this, for instance, would be an attractive man being told he's too pretty to be taken seriously in law office, right? So this was actually reported in multiple Reddit testimonies and social perception studies. So that's actually an example of how attractive men are also not really taken seriously when it comes to, you know, people taking them seriously, right? And that's something that I've noticed too. Whenever there is an unattractive person, they're taken more seriously. And I feel like this needs to be pointed out. Attractive people are mainly taken more seriously because it's like they're unattractive. And when you're unattractive, it grants you privilege in the sense of people not wanting to fuck with you, right? Because you already look like you don't have shit to lose. And when you look like you don't have shit to lose, that scares a lot of people. And I just feel like that needs to be pointed out. But anyway, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like if you look like you bite, that's gonna scare an individual. Hell yeah, niggas is not trying to talk back. I literally seen a chick at the dentist office yesterday. That chick looked like she can get down. Like, you know how people have that look like they can fight and they just look like, don't fuck with me. I seen another chick like that at the library. Like, those are the type of people that I'm not getting into an argument with, right? If somebody like that is just like, oh, get the fuck out of my way, I'm just like, you know what? You got it, bro. You got it, bro.
Right.
Like, I'm not battling no woman that looks like Mark Henry. But anyway, right? This leads me to my next point. So
this game, you're not ready for it.
this is basically how unattractive men sabotage attractive men. So the psychology of envy and sabotage. According to the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in 2016, envy often leads to indirect aggression, especially in men who feel inferior. This includes giving bad advice intentionally. And this is kind of like when they make those jokes on TikTok or Instagram when they're just like, oh yeah, bro, get dreads, get a buzz cut. And you'll see the comments, for instance, right? And they'll say that shit all the time. Like, it's so funny. But these jokes are based on reality because that's a form of sabotage. They'll even give bad advice like, oh, women love it when you ignore them. Don't compliment her. It looks weak. And that's something that I've noticed that ugly men do to handsome men. They try to tell handsome men terrible advice on purpose. They try to give them advice that, you know, ultimately isn't going to work, because when you're attractive, you can do what the fuck you want to do. And that's what unattractive people don't want to tell you. They don't want to give you that game card. And I'm a woman and I'm gaming up attractive men right now.
Listen to this.
If you are a handsome man, you can do whatever you want to be. You could be a gentleman if you want. You could be a fuckboy if you want. You could be whatever you want to be, and women will accept you.
Preach.
That's how it goes, because your face is carrying you.
Preach.
Yeah, I just fucked the whole game up. Do with that information what you will. That is like forbidden information, I feel like. But yeah, you guys have never heard women actually come out and say it, but that's a fact, right?
Yes.
If a handsome man is a gentleman, women aren't going to treat you like a simp. That's a fact, right? That's a fact. That's a fact. Because that's the dudes that she wants to be a simp. Literally. When women say, oh, I want a gentleman, they're talking about a tall, attractive, well-mannered man. Like all these fairy tale type of ideals of Prince Charming, basically. And most handsome men fit that aesthetic of Prince Charming just by default of being handsome and tall. And even if you're not tall, by having the face that's still carrying you. So whenever an unattractive man gives you advice, the best thing you can do is not listen to shit they have to say, because anything that they have to say is based on cope and it has nothing to do with reality whatsoever. Yep. Unattractive people are given copes to deal with reality because they don't like how reality is. So that's why they're told, oh, you have to treat women like shit in order to da-da-da. In reality, you don't have to do anything when you're attractive. You can be your authentic self when you're attractive. You don't have to abide by standards when you're attractive. Standards and behavior markers and all of this bullshit is created for average looking people and unattractive looking people. Because if you've noticed, there's certain behaviors that attractive people can get away with, and there's certain behaviors that unattractive people can't. A good example of this is like if you're handsome and you say good morning to a chick, nobody's gonna think nothing of it. They're gonna be like, oh my God, good morning. He said good morning to me. If anything, a bitch is gonna think about that one good morning a handsome man said to her, and she's gonna overthink it, Google search it, ask ChatGPT, what does this mean? But when an ugly man says it, you're just like, this is sexual harassment. See how that's a totally different dynamic, and it went to an extreme dynamic just because of how someone looks.
That's a sad reality.
That's a prime example of how there's two major differences just based on something as tiny as how you look. And this brings me to my next point. Unattractive men, they also lie to handsome men by lying about how women perceive them. they'll also mock their attractiveness as feminine or shallow. You look like a male model, bro. Go work at Sephora. Or, you know, just anything that's hinting towards, oh, you look gay, you look feminine, you have a feminine face. Women don't like you. Women don't like girly faces. Women don't like men that look like women. And these are all based on lies, right? Because what ugly men think women like, women don't. That's the funniest part of all of it. Women have been telling men exactly what they want for years, and the only rebuttal that men have came up for that is, oh, women are unrealistic and their expectations are way too high. But women already told you what they want. They want 6 feet tall, handsome men that make millions of dollars. Hey, y'all don't want me to go in. I'm really gonna hurt some feelings, because that's realistic, right? Women have already stated what they wanted. Literally, right?
Right.
Niggas just came up with different ways to cope with what women have said, right? Just because women are choosing men that are unattractive that have money, that's because that's a fraction of what women want. Women don't want unattractive men with money. They want handsome, tall men with money, right? Handsome, fit, tall men with money. And the funniest part about all of that is that handsome men still reign superior, right? Because even when handsome men don't have money, they still have a ton of access to bad bitches. And that is like the ultimate thing that ugly men don't want handsome men to know, right? If you are handsome, you have access to bad bitches by default. You don't even have to get money. You don't even have to get your life together. You don't have to do anything. And I think that is the thing that men really envy about handsome men, because even when you look at the men that have money, if they're unattractive, they still end up, you know, having a hard time with attractive women, because ultimately they are the option that women have settled for. Right. And I know settling sounds insane, because sometimes those men are so high value that they have more value than the women that are chasing them. But because women look at this dynamic totally different than how men actually think women do, that's why, you know, men are sold these lies. They're sold these lies for obvious reasons, because obviously nobody wants to tell someone, hey, the reason why I didn't respond to your text message is because you're ugly. Like, who wants to really say that to an individual, right? What woman has really came out and said that to a man? I very rarely see women tell their own friends the truth. So what makes you think they're going to come out and tell men the truth? They're not going to tell men the truth at all, actually. They're going to keep up the lie as long as possible until people, you know, figure out the pattern. And they're like, well, if we're going based off of the men that women choose to get pregnant by, and we're going based off of the men that women chase and they don't care how many times they get done wrong, and if we're going based on how women lust after the handsome men on social media, and if we're going by how women treat handsome men versus how they treat unattractive men, then I think logic would tell you that, okay, even if somebody is saying something, their behavior is doing something else, right? That's like me holding onto a dream. If a man was treating me like shit, and in my mind, I'm saying, oh, he loves me. He loves me. Everything about me. He just loves me. He just doesn't know how to show it yet. There's men out here that will literally fucking throw their shirt on the ground and let you walk on it. So if a man is treating me like shit, then clearly he doesn't love me. Like, it's really that simple. It's logical. But again, a lot of people don't like logic, because logic forces you to see reality for what it is, and not this fairy tale of what you want it to be, or what you think the world should be, or what you were told the world is, right? That's the biggest thing that I think that people have a problem with coming to terms with whenever they talk about, you know, looks and stuff like that. Because a lot of people are aware of these social dynamics, but it's just an unspoken one that nobody really gets up here and talks about, unless they're like in a forum, or they're just so doomer gloomer and they're just like, it's over for me. Well, it's not necessarily over if unattractive people would just date each other, and average people would just date each other. But the only way they're going to date each other is if attractive people wake up. And that's kind of like what my platform is, because I'm cutting off access that y'all have to attractive people. When women keep trying to lie and say that, oh, I get all these handsome men, but they're ugly and they're fat, I'm cutting that access off, because I'm giving handsome men the tools that don't understand the power that they have to know that you're beneath their level, actually. You are. And the fact that you try to shit on handsome men is diabolical, actually, because you're actually not even on their level. They're actually supposed to be with women that are on their level. and above. So anyway, that leads me to my next point, right? So there are actual real life behavior patterns, right? So those would include people pretending to be supportive but encouraging choices that sabotage social status for handsome men. And again, that would be things like social sabotage in the sense of maybe telling him to get a haircut when you know he looks better with longer hair, or even something as complex as saying, oh, well, those women don't like you. They don't like feminine guys. They want a real man, a real masculine man that gets his hands dirty, right? Because even when women say they like masculine men, they're talking about the handsome looking masculine men, right? So you're not getting around this debate, right? Because niggas try to hide behind that one too. Oh, women like the rugged edge men. Yeah, they still have to be slightly attractive. They have to be a 6 or above. Literally, you're not getting around this. You're not getting around this. And sometimes they'll even go for a 5, but they're not going no lower than a 5. They're not. And then when you have the 5, he's tall. Like, what are we talking about? He's either tall and has a nice body. Like, oh my God, dude, I'm not playing with you guys no more. I'm not playing with you guys. It's over. All those fake narratives that y'all tell handsome men, that shit is done. That shit is so done.
Damn.
Another example of this is starting rumors, that his success is fake or due to manipulation because they want him to not succeed. So
Yes.
men, unattractive men specifically, often resent attractive men. It's the same way how unattractive women do the same thing to attractive women. So social sabotage, just like I said, ugly bitches will get on the internet and they'll be like, oh, she's a whore. She's a whore. Look, she's popping pussy on the internet. Look at her butt all up in the camera.
Y'all know this is true.
If attractive women are popping pussy and butt in the camera, niggas don't care.
Right.
I'm just letting you know that. That's like a shaming tactic that ugly bitches have been doing since the beginning of time, and nobody cares. They only care mainly when you're ugly. And
It's true. It's true.
And I'm gonna be honest.
It's true.
Niggas don't care that if a bitch is a whore and she's attractive and she's being a whore. Like, come on now. But this leads me to my next point.
So
there are a couple of dangers that come with attractiveness as being a handsome man, and there's also positives that come with being a handsome man. So some of the advantages of being a handsome man would be higher dating market values. So you get tons of bad bitches, even when you don't have money, actually. More social leeway, so you can respond late. No one's gonna care. They're still going to be thirsty and reply fast as fuck. You could be rude in a minor way. Some of your rude social behavior is even excused. You get so much leeway as a handsome man. You could be diabolical, actually.
Yeah,
and a woman will make so many excuses for handsome men that is unbelievable, actually.
Yeah.
A handsome man could fucking say, oh, you stupid ass bitch, I hate you. In some way and somehow, there's gonna be a bitch and a broad in the world that's gonna be like, oh my God, he really loves me.
That's just how it is,
And I'm not trying to make fun of no situations, but I swear to God, bro, it's that serious, right? It's literally that serious. So another advantage that handsome men have is that they get more attention from both genders. That's another thing that's not talked about. So handsome men, they get hit on by gay men.
Yes.
They get hit on by attractive women. Even, lesbian women will compliment them and tell them that they're handsome.
It's true.
They get the same type of treatment that pretty girls get. So the same dynamics that attractive women get, the same type of attention that attractive women get, is going to be the same type of things, except with minor differences, because, one is a man, one is a woman. So you have male privilege on top of being handsome, which is also a plus that I feel like I'm going to be pointing out later on in this video. So you also get greater perceived competence. So people assume that you have the ability to do great things, even if you don't. And this is what I talked about pretty privilege. People put all of these positive attributes onto you, even if you don't have the ability to do that. They believe in you more than you believe in yourself a lot of times. So then we have the negatives, right? So the negatives would be more objectification from women and gay men, actually. There's a lot of gay men that throw themselves on handsome men. And I noticed that's the thing that a lot of the guys that I've dated that are handsome, they complain about, like, oh, gay men try to throw themselves at me.
Yeah,
but, they don't trip because they understand that they're attractive and that's going to come with the territory.
We try to be polite.
It's harder for them to be seen as deep. Most women think handsome men are stupid, just like how people assume if you're an attractive woman, you're stupid, or, oh, you're just talking about things that we already knew about. You're not smart. You copy somebody. So yeah, those same stereotypes of attractive people being dumb, they'll try to push that. Even if you show them that you're smart, they'll still try to push that, right? So the constant competition and passive aggression from other men. Oh, bro, you need to get a haircut. Oh, bro, you need to get dreads. Even if they're pretending or joking, those jokes still have truth behind them, right? Same with how they'll be like, oh, you're gay, you look feminine. Women don't like feminine looking men. Oh, you look like this, you look like a sissy. So the same type of shaming tactics that are done to fucking women, it's the same shit. It's literally the same shit, right? So you can't even try to get around that because they act the exact same for the most part. You also have difficulty making authentic male friendships. You're always seen as the threat or the bitch getter, right? So niggas might not invite you out somewhere because it's kind of like the attractive woman dynamic. Oh, this motherfucker get all the bad bitches. I'm not bringing this nigga around. This nigga want to steal all the numbers when he come around. So they're not going to invite you. They're not going to say, hey. Sometimes they will if they want to get attention. So that's the same dynamic, just like attractive woman. If they want to get free drinks or they want the attention from the bad bitches on them, they're going to, hey, bro, come on. So yeah, they might aura farm off of a nigga. So it's the same type of dynamic, right?
Ready to lose the hat and regrow the hair? With Choose by Hims, you can regain your hair and your...
So handsome men have privileges just like attractive women, but they also carry social burdens just like attractive women that aren't also visible or not talked about. So the envy, the sabotage, and the suspicion, it's the same type of dynamic, except it's in another, gender. So it's kind of crazy how like these dynamics work. That's my favorite thing to say because it is crazy to see how this shit works. Handsome men do go through a lot, and I feel like they're also dehumanized. That's another part of handsome men that people don't understand. It's just like when you look at somebody that's attractive, you assume all these positive things about them. You don't actually know this person. You don't know their personal struggles. You don't know their personal insecurities. You don't know the things that they, struggle with. You don't know their family background. All of these people have life stories just like everybody else, but you're assuming the best case scenario out of these individuals based on something that they can't control, which is their attractiveness, right? So that's why I find it funny that a lot of times jealous people, the same ones that go under the knife to get these aesthetics, they end up hating attractive people, natural born attractive people, because it's like you have something that they weren't born with. So they end up envying you and trying to make your life as hard as possible. But that comes with any privilege, right? So it's always going to be niggas trying to shit on you. Oh, it's over for you, bro. Oh, you're ugly. You're not all that. Yeah, of course they're going to do that. They do this to attractive women. The only difference with attractive women is, the emphasis of beauty is pushed more so on us. So a lot of attractive women, we're used to like the shaming and the humbling tactics. Handsome men, I feel like they might actually end up thinking they're actually ugly because they don't understand how to identify that they're just going through shaming tactics, just like beautiful women. It's the same dynamic, right? But the difference with men is that men, the image of men that is pushed is that, oh, men should be the providers and the protectors and blah, 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 right? So when you think of a man, you're thinking of somebody that, is getting money or somebody like that. The difference with a handsome man is that he has beauty privilege on top of having that stereotype that's pushed on him. So now he has to struggle with that. He's struggling with two different things because people are trying to, I feel like unattractive men are doing this more than anybody, where they're trying to push this narrative that handsome men are, feminine presenting. But, the only reason why they're being granted femininity is because of the beauty privilege that's coming by default. But honestly, that's just what haters do. That's what a hater is going to do. They're going to make you feel insecure and unsure of yourself. They're going to try to make you feel like shit because you have something that they want, right? If a fat, unattractive man could trade places with you, do you not understand how fast he would do that? Just to be like, oh, look at all the bad bitches I'm getting. Because I've noticed this about every unattractive person. They always have all this unsolicited advice of what they would do if they were in your body. If I was you, I would just go up to random people and I would get $1 million because I would be doing this and I would be doing that. I would be going to the strip club. I would be bleeding these niggas for money. That's That's what bitches have told me. Oh, if I was pretty, I would just do this, and that. You're wasting all of your potential. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the same thing happens to handsome men. Oh, bro, if I was 6 feet tall and I was handsome, I would be dogging these bitches out. So that just goes to show that these people that don't have your privilege are projecting, right? They're projecting what they believe you should act like. They're projecting what they believe you should be doing, but they're not you, right? So that's why I feel like attractive people should never mold themselves for how average and ugly people are telling them to, right? You don't have to mold to shit. If you want to be a fucking anime nerd, you could do that. If you want to fucking be a loser and be attractive, you could do that. If you want to be quiet and be to yourself, you could do that. If you want to be outgoing and be popular, you could do that. If you want to be famous and a streamer, you could do that. When you're attractive, you could do whatever the fuck you want to do. And that's the entire point.
Preach.
And that actually leads me to something that I also want to talk about. They've done the same to famous people like Chris Brown, right? They always try to push the light skin narrative on handsome men that are light skinned. They try to push the soft narrative and the gay narrative and the pretty boy narrative on light skinned mixed race men. They try to do this to dark-skinned handsome men as well. They try to hit them with the gay allegations. Like, they do that with all handsome men in general. They do it to the attractive white men where they try to say, oh, you look like a girl, bro. So yeah, this is something that they do to a lot of attractive men. And then the guy off of Love Island, that's like something recent that I'm just finding out about. The guy named Jeremiah, hell fucking yeah, they had to get that nigga up out of there. I don't know how I don't know how many times I have to stress this. I seen a couple of clips, and all it took for me to see is just one clip, actually. And I was just like, God damn, that man is beautiful, right? It was so obvious as to why they had to get him out of there. That is like, whenever a man is beautiful and he's tall, he's like the ultimate bitch getter. And even if he's not aware of the power that he has, he literally has that ability. Not only is he the ultimate bitch getter, but he's the ultimate bad.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Bad bitch getter. And that's what men, that's how they sabotage handsome men, right? Because they try to make handsome men think that they're all in the same boat, right? We're all in this together, bro. We're all in this together. Well, actually, I think handsome men do that too to protect themselves, so ugly niggas don't retaliate towards them or some shit. But yeah, they do that all the time where they'll just be like, yeah, we're all going through it. We're all going through it. But it's like, no, you're not. Handsome men have a different experience with women. Even if they're socially awkward, let's use that as a prime example. Just because you don't know how to talk to people and you're deciding to be a nigga that doesn't know how to speak to people doesn't mean that you can't learn how to speak to people, right? If you have the looks, you can still obtain qualities, right? So it's not over for you, right? When you're handsome, it's never over. Like, I don't know how to explain that. I don't know how to explain that. You could be as socially awkward as you want to be. You could be a basement dweller as a handsome man. But the moment you learn how to have social skills, you are going to have a pretty decent life. And that's a fact, right? Because it's like you already have a privilege that was granted to you by default. Even if you don't know how to utilize that privilege yet, that doesn't mean that, you're not going to have access to those things. Just because you're not having access to it right now doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to do that, right? That's exactly how that works. That's how privilege systems work. And then even sometimes you just have to be in the right area. That's how it works. So if you're handsome, if you're tall, you're muscular, and you find yourself having, problems with women, or women trying to humble you, that's an obvious sign that you're handsome, because women are assuming that you're arrogant and you're stuck up and you already know that you're handsome. And this is something that I've noticed about attractive people sometimes too, where people, they might hesitate to compliment us, or they might hesitate to come up to us. And this is where, I understood where that, Cuban chick was coming from to a certain extent, because that is based on facts, right? I'm not going to denounce that like that's not based on reality. It is, because I've had times where people were like, whoa, I was afraid to come up to you and say something because I feel like, you already get a lot of compliments and stuff from people. So that's a real experience. So if you're a handsome man and you're not getting attention like that, that could be a part of it. It could be intimidation, because it's like when you're attractive to a certain extent, or if you're super attractive, because let me say that there's a difference. And you're not coming off as if like you're bubbly and outgoing, hell yeah, that's intimidating. Because it's like, now people are expecting you to be this stuck up mogger. That's basically what's happening. People are assuming based on the aura that you're presenting, is that I know I'm the shit and get out my way. And that might not even be your energy, but that's how it looks, right? Because we're going based off of looks. That's what lookism is. It's all based on how you look. It's not based on what reality is. It's based on how you look. But if you like this video, comment, like, and subscribe. Later.
Right, dude. Freaking. It's like I've been telling y'all, man. Freaking being handsome is like a superpower, dude. But we get sabotaged, dude, by these freaking jealous guys, dude. Freaking. If you guys like this video, man, freaking drop a like. This is handsome homie. Peace.